This is Let's Finally Talk, a heart-to-heart with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, live streaming every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Join me on YouTube at Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, on Facebook at Dr. Jacalyn, and on Instagram at Dr. Jacalyn, as seen and heard on the USA Global TV and Radio Network worldwide. We've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award, and I've earned the 100 Global Top Women Icons in Media. My TV shows are Iconic Women, Creating a World of Possibilities, Judgment, the Hidden Sin, A Woman's Prerogative, Sisterhood Across Borders, It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, and the latest updates. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow. We're streaming every night live on Let's Finally Talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm here for another fabulous episode of Let's Finally Talk. If you are new to this platform, welcome. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channels, wherever it is that you're watching from, USA Global TV and Radio, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Our topic today is one that I think is very relevant, and you might not exactly know where I'm going based on the title, but the title is When Accountability is Avoided, the Story Gets Rewritten. Okay, so everything that I teach is based on my platform that I founded called Elevated Listening. Does that mean you're standing on a chair listening to someone? No, that means that you're following the 4 pillars of elevated listening. Listening without problem solving, listening without stage hogging, listening without interruption, and the big one, listening without judgment. You can find out more in my book, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. And if you've ever been judged or you've been judging others, we all do it, but let's learn how not to do it. Or when it's done to us, let's learn what we can do. You can find out more in my other book, Holy But Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment. Okay, so let's get into the show today. I'm really excited about this. If you've ever been part of Whispering Down the Lane, remember that game where someone says something and then it goes all the way down to the end and it really gets changed from what the intention was? There's something that many people experience, me included, but we don't always have the words for it or the language to describe what it is. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. So if you're out there watching live, why not drop something in the comments so that I know that you're there? I'm standing here in my studio by myself. It would be great to know that others were out there watching and listening. Thank you very much. So when accountability, that instinct that we say, you know what, let me raise my hand. It was me. Let me take accountability for it. When that happens, sometimes we feel uncomfortable because we feel like we may be judged. But yet when we're living from a place of love and compassion, as opposed to fear, we want to take accountability because it's part of emotional intelligence. It's part of being mature. It's part of being an adult. But when that doesn't happen, when things are not clarified, when people just make things up or take it wherever it is that they want to take it, they're changing the actual story. And that's what I mean about the story gets rewritten. So if you've ever had something happen to you where you told someone something and then it ended up being completely changed, drop it in the comments. I don't see any comments yet, but I see there are a lot of you watching. Can you please put something in the comments? I'd really appreciate it. And by the way, wherever you're watching, whether it's our YouTube channels, whether it's our Facebook channels, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, we're very happy to have you. So thank you for that. Okay, so getting back to the topic today. The details start to shift. The intent actually is changed. And then the responsibility disappears. And this is what I want us to focus on. When someone does something to you or something happens and the person doesn't step up, literally steps up and says, you know what? It was me. I did it. I made a mistake. I didn't mean that, but I take full responsibility for that. How do we feel? The person's actually acknowledging that they're responsible. I love that. I don't judge someone. I say, you know what? Good for you. Good for you that you had the wherewithal to step forward and say, yes, I'm responsible. But what happens when we don't do that? Many times the story starts to change, and it comes from a place of now being the victim. Oh, I didn't mean to do anything. It was really your fault because you this, you that. And so now we're shifting the blame, and the actual truth starts to change. So I want you to remember something, and I have my handy little reminder here, the golden rule. Okay, the golden rule. This applies to you, to me, to all of us. Before we speak, before we write, text, email, before we post something on social media, ask yourself these three questions. One, is it kind? Two, is it necessary? And three, is it true? Now, the third one, the truth, that's what we're talking about today. That's what we're talking about, taking accountability and leaving the story as it is, unchanged, because that is the truth. But when we're not comfortable with who we are, when we haven't done the work, and by the way, there's no judgment because it's an evolution. I have evolved far more from where I used to be, and I continue to evolve, and I want to continue to learn more. And I hope the same for you. As we do the work and we really fall in love with ourselves and we really like ourselves, it's much easier to step up and say, you know what? It was me. You know what? I did misunderstand. You know, I was talking about you behind your back. But when we're not in that place, what we do is we shift the story and the narrative, and we then become the victim. And being a victim, by the way, it's in this context, it is not attractive. It is not coming from a place of confidence. It's typically coming from a place of fear. Suddenly, you are left wondering if you misunderstood something that at the time felt very clear to you. And all of a sudden, now you're starting to question everything. Maybe I misunderstood. This happens in families, it happens in relationships, it happens in workplaces, it happens in institutions, and especially where there are relationships that are based on power, image, or ego. The person who's coming from that place of power, image, or ego is coming typically from a place of fear. They're not concerned about how you feel. They're not concerned about how your actions are impacting them. They're only concerned with themselves. And this can focus many times around money. Some people are very much tied to money in terms of their self esteem. Their self worth defines their self value. And for many of us who are doing the work that we're doing here, many people, my team members, many people I interact with, we're coming from a place that's based on love and compassion. And so that's why we all get along so well. We're not tied to money. Do we need money to survive? Obviously. But some people, and again, there's no judgment, some people are very much about the dollar, what their bank account statement has, what they're driving, what they're living in, what their clothes look like. And so they are not necessarily, and of course, we're not talking about everyone. We can't just arbitrarily go across the board and say everyone's like this, because that's not true. But there are times when people who are coming from a place of ego will shift the story and the narrative to make themselves look better or make themselves feel better. And they actually start to believe their own story. Have you ever had this happen to yourself, where you literally are now thinking to yourself, I thought that I was in a good place. I thought I understood. I thought that we had communicated. I thought we had an understanding. And all of a sudden, it changes, because now we are falling prey, so to speak, to the other person who's coming from a place of ego. And yet we continue to stay in the right relationship with the person, whatever that relationship is. And I love to say this and demonstrate, we start to feel smaller and smaller. And we're literally shrinking because we're losing our identity. Because what we believe to be true, the foundation, think about a home is built on a foundation. The foundation of everything that we believed in the relationship with the other person about our work, it's all now shifting because we are not believing in ourselves and we are giving ourselves and our power to the other person. And the person is doing what? They're using it for their own benefit, and they start to manipulate us. And so that manipulation never feels good. But again, I'm here to talk to you about the positives, about what we can do, about how we can continue to believe in ourselves and know that we have the power. If you've ever seen one of my episodes before, I shared this with you. When you look in that mirror, you are your best coach. You have every single thing that you need inside you right now, but you don't believe it. And what we do is we start asking other people, well, what do you think I should do? Do you like what I'm wearing? How do you feel about me? And all of a sudden, we give all of our power to someone else. And when we do this over and over again, it becomes a pattern that the other person is very well aware of. So if you've been in any relationship for a long time, whether it's with a partner or whether it's at work or even with your friend, whomever it might be, when you're together for so many years, you get to know each other and how you react to certain things. And one of you might be the one who is always taking accountability, even when you don't actually believe it. You just want peace. And the other person is always saying, you know what? You're the one who did this. This is your fault. And what happens? It starts to sound reasonable. It starts to sound convincing. And then the results are exactly the same: confusion, self doubt. And then the worst thing happens: the erosion of trust. We trusted this person, we trusted the relationship, we trusted what we thought we had. And then we realize everything that we trusted has disappeared. But the truth is, we never had it to begin with. It was an illusion. So I want us to stop having illusions about what really exists. One of the most difficult parts of any experience is when we start questioning ourselves. And I've done this to myself a zillion times. So for those of you who don't know, I am single. I live alone. I've been alone for a long time. And part of the reason is I'm not good at relationships. I'm just not. I'm very trusting. I believe in what the other person says. And so I realized at the age of 62, I'm checking out of being in a relationship with someone because there are other things that I'm more interested in doing. And so some of you might think, well, that's kind of just giving up. It's not giving up. It's knowing yourself. It's setting a boundary. And I'm just not great at being in a relationship with a man because I always end up picking the same type of guy over and over and over again. And I end up just giving myself away. There's nothing left of me. I'm the shrinking woman. So now I'm standing tall. I'm standing on my own. And my goal is to impart wisdom to you based on my own experience, my education, and my work as a peace ambassador. So I hope that something I say to you today will resonate with you. And that's why this show is called Let's Finally Talk, because I've been doing broadcasting for 4 years, but I've been behind the camera a lot of the time. And many of you have never even heard from me specifically. So this is where elevated listening, the platform that I've created, this is where it becomes essential, because elevated listening, and this is key, it is not about convincing someone else about what the truth is, because you never will. If you're in a situation with a person who is coming from a place of fear, someone who is coming from a place of anxiety, someone who is coming from a place of ego, self-loathing, you will never be able to convince them of the truth. And by the way, sometimes we embellish the truth because we've been told this story for so long by this other person or persons. And I just watched a special. I don't want to say what it was, but it's I think it's #1 on Netflix right now, about how these people really built this community based on people feeling insecure and needing therapy and needing help. And what ended up ensuing, you can watch on Netflix, not a paid spokesperson, by the way. But it was a perfect example to me of how these things actually take place. We realize something's missing and we want to make that whole, we want to fill that void. And instead of just saying, you know what, I choose not to jump into the fire, as my expression is, I choose not to start filling that hole because it's an endless pit. I choose me. I raise my hand, I set a boundary, and I say, you know what? I'm out. I am going to look after myself mentally and physically. And when we do this, it doesn't matter what the other person's story is because we're living in our truth. And I'll give an example. I'm not going to be specific, so let me think how I can put this out there. So I have been in a situation where someone told me a certain story and I actually believed it, and they said they were going to do certain things and I actually believed it, and they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And I thought to myself, I feel so hurt. I feel so betrayed. And now I have to do something. I have to take action. And I really didn't want to take the action. And I didn't want to take it, not because I didn't believe in myself, because I knew when I did that that would be the end of the situation. And accepting that something comes to an end is a difficult thing to do sometimes, but it's also a sign of growth. It's also a sign of empowerment. So when you realize something is not serving you, when you're in a relationship where the story is constantly getting rewritten, it's okay for you to say, let them do what they're going to do. Mel Robbins theory, the let them theory, not a paid spokesperson. It's okay to say, let them do what they're going to do. And in the meantime, you take care of you. You live in your truth and do what you need to do so that you can be at peace. And so that's part of what my main point of today is. You are not responsible for someone else's discomfort with accountability. And a topic that I'll bring up is I'm a business owner. And as a business owner, I work with contracts. And so to me, contracts are pretty important, whether people live in the United States or live outside the United States. Pretty much everything I do is written into a contract. And what I found is people will sign contracts without even reading them. And then when something comes up and they're faced with the fact that it's in the contract, they don't want to deal with it. So then they start shifting the blame. And I'll say, I'm sorry, but it's in the contract and you signed it. Oh, well, I didn't know what I was signing. And you get all kinds of excuses. And I think to myself, how can a person sign a contract and not read it? So I urge you, anytime that you're signing a contract, please do read what's in it, because I'm sure you will be held accountable. And we should be held accountable because as adults who are in their right minds, if we're over 18 and we're in our right mind, we sign a contract, then we need to be accountable for it, all of us. So what I'd like to say as we start to wrap up this particular episode of Let's Finally Talk is that you can stay grounded. You can stay clear. You can stay connected to what it is that you believe, regardless of what someone else's thoughts are, what someone else says to you. You can say, no, thank you. I choose to disengage. I choose not to engage. I want you to know that I hear what you say, but I am not going to participate. That takes a lot of strength. But when we're finding the words to do this and we're empowered to do it, it's a game changer. You do not have to live in fear. We're starting off the new year, and many people have made some type of commitment to change. And what I share with you is this: Are you making the commitment, the resolution, because you want to do it or because someone else wants you to do it? Because I promise you, if you're doing something because someone else wants you to do it and you don't have a why and you can't actually picture yourself there, it's not going to happen. You're going to set yourself up to fail. So choose an action plan for yourself that you can stick to, that is meaningful to you. I have a goal for myself, and I will share it here as I'm on international television. I am going to work towards opening an in-person television station. It's something that I looked into before when I got back from Florida into New Jersey, and someone was going to do it with me, and it didn't work out. So if you're out there and you're interested in opening a television station with me that people can come into, a brick and mortar TV station, then please get in touch with me. But I have an action plan to actually make this happen. It's going to take funding. It's going to take discipline, because I've already built my other two businesses. And of course, I don't want anything to interfere with these businesses. So I have an action plan. I have mentors. I have coaches. And in my soul, I have this desire that, yes, there will be a USA Global TV Productions brick and mortar TV station that will be opening. That is what I'm working on. So whatever your goal is, remember this: you have your own story. Don't let someone else rewrite your story. Don't let someone else's beliefs, someone else's gossip eat away at your dream. You know your truth. And you know, as well as I do, in order for something to happen, we have to make a commitment. We have to make sacrifices. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that on my next show, which is coming up right after this. It's Talking Heads. And if you're interested, if you're a business owner, if you're interested in wanting to know what people don't tell you about why businesses fail or what it takes to run a successful business, I'll be covering that today. But in the meantime, for those of you here with Let's Finally Talk, I want to leave you with some things that you can really, I hope, grasp onto and to lock in. You are not wrong for noticing that there's been a shift, either in your relationship, with your partner, at work, whatever it is in your life. If you notice it, it's there. You are not dramatic for feeling unsettled or unfulfilled by it. Sometimes people will say, oh, it's all in your head. It's not in your head. It's in your gut. If your gut's telling you that, if that's what your instinct is telling you, yeah, I think it's pretty much true. And you're not required to participate in a false narrative, meaning know your truth, own your truth. Don't shift the truth and don't shift blame. Be willing to stand up and raise your hand and say, you know what? I made a mistake. And by the way, that doesn't mean that the other person is going to give you grace. That doesn't mean the other person is going to fall on their sword and go, well, thank you so much. We're waiting to hear from you about that. Of course, that's a judgmental statement, but you own your truth. And that's all that matters. You choose you. And so choosing clarity is choosing your self-respect. And when you choose self-respect, that's a decision that comes from emotional intelligence. And so as we close out this episode of Let's Finally Talk, what I want to just say in conclusion, I am a peace ambassador. And so my goal is to help each and every one of you out there find inner peace. And inner peace comes from listening to your intuition. It comes from showing up and being fully present. When I was in corporate, there was a saying that our company used to have, and I found out that other companies have said it as well, but doing the right thing when no one's looking. Not so you can get an award, not so you can have a pat on the back, but so you can live with yourself in peace. And so when it comes to accountability being avoided and stories being rewritten, let's make a commitment to be accountable. Let's make a commitment to come from a place of love as opposed to a place of fear. And raising our hand and saying, you know what? It was me. I dropped the ball. Or I apologize, without a bunch of excuses. By the way, people don't want to hear your excuses. One thing I've noticed, if you show up late somewhere and you have a whole list. Oh, I'm so sorry I was late. I was stuck in traffic. The kids that no one cares. We know you're late. We see you are late. Just say, I'm very sorry. I'm late. That's it. I'm sorry I dropped the ball. I'm sorry for whatever it is. Just be accountable. And then let's all together try to do better. All right, as we close out this episode, in case you're not aware, I've actually recorded my first single. I always wanted to be a singer. I'm looking for my graphic here. And so my song is called Please Listen to What I Say. And it's actually available on iTunes, as well as Amazon, as well as Spotify. So let's take a listen to just a short clip of Please Listen to What I Say. And then I'll be back shortly with my next episode, which is Talking Heads, What No One Tells You About Running a Business. Okay, we're going to listen to a little bit of this song. And if you're interested, you can go ahead and download it on iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Thanks for being here. Please do subscribe to our channels, USA Global TV and Radio, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck on YouTube. Bye for now.
Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now. Listen, babe, now, listen, babe, now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting. We're building bridges and changing lives, one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.